Welcome, guys, back to the I Love Wrestling podcast. I'm your host, as always, Justin Woolwine. Today, we are welcome with Mr. Leo Fox. How we doing, man?
I'm doing great, brother. How are you?
I'm blessed. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for joining me so early, like I said. And it's something we've been working out for quite some time. I'm excited to have you on.
Yeah. I was going to tell you right when we got on. I apologize that it took so long to for us to get together. I was living up in Cleveland, I believe, when we first connected. I was living up there training full time with EC3 in his first advanced class, and then right when I moved back, my daughter was born, and then I end up breaking two ribs at OVW a couple of weeks ago. So it's just been a crazy couple of months. So I apologize. It's taken so long for us to finally nail down a time and date to get together.
Look, I understand the craziness. Honestly, since me and you started trying to figure out dates and stuff, I've started a job. WrestleMania week for podcasting is
That's
crazy.
right.
Um, Plus, not to mention all the different shows and events that I've been trying to go to keep up with the podcast. It's rough. I understand.
Yeah, you said you were going to Square Circle Pro tonight. Is that what you're doing tonight?
Yes, I'll be there all weekend. It's like a
Awesome.
4.5 hour drive from where I live. I'm up by Chicago. Um, so I'll be there both nights, both days, and then for both the shows each night, and then drive right back so I can get to work on Monday.
That's awesome. Now, are you doing anything, if you don't mind me asking a question, are you doing anything with them? Like, do you do interviews and stuff with them or like
Nothing that I can announce.
okay,
It's
gotcha.
not all set in stone yet, but
Gotcha.
I
Gotcha.
am a sponsor, one of the sponsors for a hot commodity, Trevor Outlaw and Hidden Backlund. And then for BLP, I'm doing a sponsorship for Myron Reed, which is pretty cool. I'll get to walk into the ring and things like that. So it's an experience. I've never got to do anything like that, so kind of excited. And then Saturday is just Hayden won't be there, but Trevor will be. So I'll be sponsoring Trevor that day, just Trevor, and going to the show that night. Nothing really special for the show that night. Just going to be there as a fan, and then head back.
No, that's
Trevor Outlaw.
Trevor Outlaw. I
Yeah,
know Hayden pretty good. Love Hayden.
he's great.
Hayden's a
He's a
great
great
guy.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I've had
I know Myron Reed a little bit, but I know Hayden really good. Really good people.
I've had Hayden and Trevor on once before. There's actually the first tag team I've ever had on here. And then I started doing work for Exodus, and I'm gonna be honest, I didn't realize he was there until I
Yeah.
showed up. I didn't get to talk to him. He was more towards the back, and I was busy doing interviews that day.
hmm
Uh, so I'm about to go back out to Cleveland. I think it's May 23rd, for Exodus next show. Hopefully, I
Sweet.
get to see him there. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
excited to go to that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So being close to last question, being close to Chicago Cubs fan, White Sox fan.
Neither, honestly. I'm always been a Yankees fan.
Okay, fair enough, fair
Yeah.
enough.
I'm
Me and my wife are like we live just north of like Dallas Cowboys or Texas Rangers, Dallas Stars, Dallas Mavericks, but like we were both raised on small ranches in just on the Oklahoma side of the Oklahoma Texas state line, and so we Chicago is like our like adopted second city that we like to go visit pretty
okay.
regularly. And I actually proposed to my wife in Chicago, so I got
Yeah,
the Wrigley marquee tattooed on me with the date that I proposed and everything. And we go to a Cubs game every year, and it's pretty cool.
that's great.
Yeah.
Not, I'm originally from West Virginia, and like
Okay.
there's no professional teams, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like you get to pick what you want.
Yeah.
So my dad and my grandfather were Yankees fans. They're both Cowboys fans. So like growing up, that's just how I was raised. So like I'm a Cowboys fan for football. Baseball, we like the Yankees. Like it's just how it's always been. Basketball, I've never had a team. It's just whoever. Really, I'll watch any
Right.
basketball game.
Yeah.
But I think that's the fun part, I guess, about being from West Virginia is you don't have a professional team, so it's like,
Right.
okay, let's pick what we want.
Yeah. 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 My best friend, Mike Andrews, who's is the probably the best professional wrestling manager in Oklahoma, and or I know he's the best wrestling manager in Oklahoma, probably one of the best professional managers in the nation. You should definitely have him on your show sometime. Just a great wrestling mind, but he is a huge Yankees fan, and we're on the road every weekend, and he just the Yankee fan in him is always going to be that 8-year-old kid watching, Derek Jeter win. What did he win? 5 rings, 5 out of 7.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, you'll have to talk some Yankee lore with him, and me and you'll have to talk some Cowboys lore because I'm a diehard Dallas Cowboys fan. So
Okay,
I was actually at the game in Green Bay when Dez caught the ball and they counted it as incomplete. I was actually at the game.
that's badass. That's
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah, I left
Wow.
crying. It's really cool now, but at the time I left the game crying because I was a big Romo fan. Everybody kind of knew that it was kind of getting to the point where Romo's body wasn't holding up because he had spent a decade, not having the best offensive line. His body was
Yep.
starting to break down, yada yada yada. But yeah, so I was at the game. I was at the game that changed the catch rule.
While we're on the subject of the Cowboys, what do you think it's going to take for the team to turn around?
God, man. I don't want to sound uh I don't want to be that guy, but do you remember let's put it in wrestling terms. Remember when CM Punk dropped the pipe bomb and he said Vince McMahon, he said I would like to
Yeah,
believe that this company would be better off when Vince McMahon dies, but I know it won't because it's going to go to his stupid daughter and his doofus son-in-law.
yeah,
Like I always thought that Jerry, when Jerry Jones gave up power, that they would do better. But Stephen Jones, is the one that's pretty much calling the shots now, and stuff really isn't getting that much better. So I
that's
really and I think it's going to stay in the Jones family. So I don't know, man, because like at some point I want to believe that they would want to win so bad that they would cede power and just be like, all right, we're going to hire a general manager that we're just going to
yes,
trust. You know what I mean? But when they let Kellen Moore, which was our offensive coordinator, when they let him go 2 years ago, and then 3 years ago they let I'm drawing a blank on who our defensive coordinator's name was, but he's the offensive or he's the head coach of the Redskins.
okay,
And so like our offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator from 2 and 3 years ago that we both left leave for Mike McCarthy to stay the head coach played in the NFC Championship game this year. And we didn't even make the playoffs. Like it just shows you like the chaos and the horrible front office of the Dallas Cowboys right now. So I couldn't even tell you. You know what I mean? Like I think like Tom Brady in his prime, with Jerry Rice in his prime, with Barry Sanders in his prime, with God knows who else in their prime, probably couldn't even help the Cowboys win 14 games. You know what I mean?
probably not at this point. It's going to take a huge overall turnaround for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
And that's, I mean, you brought it back to the CM Punk reference. It's kind of like the reference me and my brother joke about all the times is that's what's going to have to take something that drastic for things to go the other way. So
yeah.
I guess only time will tell. Time
Right.
may heal that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, before we jump into your wrestling career, is there any social medias or anything like that you want to plug just to let the fans know, hey, this is where you can catch me?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm on Facebook as Leo Fox, Leofox. Instagram is Battleborn Leo Fox, and then X, formerly Twitter, it's I think it's Battleborn Leo. But
Okay,
yeah, it's just all Battleborn Leo or Battleborn Leo Fox. But if you just search Leo Fox, I'm on all social medias. Yes,
perfect,
sir.
perfect. Uh, Seeing as how we are the I Love Wrestling podcast, I try to start not only with like your wrestling journey, but maybe your wrestling fandom. So with that said, like when did you find professional wrestling and what made you fall in love with it?
So when I was in me and the person that I mentioned earlier, Mike Andrews, when we were very, very young, we had it was like the tail end of the WCW and WWE rivalry, you know what I mean? The Monday
Okay,
Night Wars.
yeah,
And so I would record on VHS. This is kind of showing my age here, but I recorded WCW every Monday night and he would record WWE, and then we would switch on Tuesdays. But he actually got me into wrestling when we were in elementary school.
okay,
And we just um I don't really know what drew me into wrestling as a kid. I kind of fell out when I joined the military or when I got into high school and joined the military and stuff. But then, and we'll talk about it later, but CM Punk is really what brought me back into wrestling.
okay.
So, yeah,
Who would you say are like some of maybe your favorites or biggest influences in wrestling?
Stan Hansen. Stan
Stan
Hansen
Hansen.
and Bruiser Brody.
I could see that. I see. I was watching some of your OVW stuff
Uh,
last night before, today, and I was watching it, and I could see the impactfulness that maybe a Stan Hansen would have on your wrestling style.
yeah. Yeah, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody, man. Like I just love just the raw realness, you know what I mean? Just they just went out there and just did it, you know what I mean? Like because I am not a I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't want to say I'm not athletic because I'm very athletic and I'm very big, you know. I'm 6 foot
Yeah,
2, you know, 200, almost 275 pounds. Like um but like I'm not gonna go out there and be able to do, you know, Canadian destroyers and all that stuff. Like I think that's entertaining, but that's not what I do. Like you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like I'm just a rough and tough, you know what I mean? Just old school style wrestler, like a Harley Race style. And that's what I love. You know what I mean? And then
definitely.
really that's what you get from CM Punk. A lot of, you know what I mean? CM Punk is just, you know, has splashed, you know, sprinkled a little bit of new age wrestling, but you know, he's very, very much an old school style wrestler, you know.
Definitely. It's a throwback to those of Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Owen
Yeah,
Hart. I mean, you could even see some Ricky Steamboat or Macho Man Randy Savage in there. Like,
yeah,
it's very old school with
yeah,
like you said, a sprinkle of new school, but just enough. And
yeah,
I think that's what I've always been most intrigued about with Punk. Punk's obvious, like honestly, one of my favorites. I've talked about it uh, till I'm blue in the face here on the podcast, but Punk's one of my favorites, and it's definitely I like how he's able to clash those styles.
yeah.
Um, with that said, is that something that you try to do? Being a bigger man, do you try to mix maybe that old school like Stan Hansen, Bruiser Brody type style with how the how the stars of today are?
You know, in a way, I don't watch as much current wrestling as one would think. You know what I mean? Like, definitely, uh, the stuff that's going on with John Cena right now has really got me intrigued and got me watching what he's doing.
Yes,
But I really like all my tape study and stuff is a lot of old school stuff. But at the same time, yeah, I guess you would say that I guess I would have to say yes because I do watch a lot of stuff that Hanson did and that Brody did, and I try to find like a new type of way to do it, if that
Okay.
makes sense. Yeah, so yeah, I would have to say, yeah, that is something that I try to do is, something that those guys were doing back in All Japan and NWA and stuff like that, and try to put some sort of little indie wrestling twist on it. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that more how should I put it? That more rugged, rough style could be more incorporated in today's like in today's scene? I know sometimes you see things that look maybe choreographed or it looks like too much of a dance. Do you think we could use that more rougher style a little more
Oh,
often?
God, yeah. God, yeah. And like again, I don't want to make it sound like I am trashing on that style of wrestling because
Exactly.
I love watching I love like tape studying like Kenny Omega and
Yes.
people like that. Those guys are extremely incredible and extremely gifted athletes and wrestlers, and like I love watching that style. That's just not the style that I personally wrestle, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I there's this great, so I don't know if you've ever seen these videos on YouTube, but it's called it was a series that kayfabe commentaries and Jim Cornette did. It was called Back to the Territories,
Yep.
and he would bring in like the one that I was just recently listening to was Terry Funk, and he's talking about the Amarillo territories and kind of a little bit about when him and his brother were NWA world champs in the 60s and 70s. But one thing that really stuck with me was Terry Funk said back in the 60s, uh, the guy like or MMA now is what pro wrestling was back when he broke in the 60s. So like all the tough, rugged men that like to throw fisticuffs, like they get into MMA now, they get into boxing a little bit now, but like they want to be UFC stars. In the 60s, they wanted to be NWA World Heavyweight Champion. You know what I mean? They wanted to go wrestle in All Japan in the 80s and stuff like that. And yeah, so I think that could be I could there could be that aspect could be brought back in a big way, and that's something that I try to bring in my matches, try to be different than a lot of what you're going to see when you go to a show, when you go to a 2 or 3 hour show. Like I try to be something different.
Definitely. Yeah, earlier you brought up, CM Punk got you back into wrestling. Um, I'm always interested in that statement because I'm gonna take a guess and say, was it the pipe bomb that brought you back?
No, it was being straight edge. It
Okay.
was being straight edge. So like I was like I kind of gotta go backwards to go forwards here, but so I fell out of wrestling. I joined the military the day I turned 18. The day after, well, so I graduated at 17. I had to work through the summer until I turned 18. The day I turned 18, I signed papers to be an infantryman in the army. Uh, uh, the day after I turned 18, I left for basic training, and 72 days after I got out of basic training, I left for Iraq, and I was in Iraq for 13 months. Did a lot of stuff over there that just a lot of stuff that I have had issues with coming back and stuff. A lot of issues with PTSD and stuff like that, and it led to a very bad opiate addiction, and the pain pill addiction led to me end up at the time that I got sober, I was shooting up $100 a day of black tar heroin. Like I was a extreme addict, and if it wasn't for my wife, there's no way I'd be alive today. She drove me to rehab 7 times. But when I finally got sober, um, Punk was uh he was already out of wrestling at this point. he hadn't come back to he came back to AEW, but he hadn't come back at this point. But when I started getting sober and was talking to my buddy Mike that I mentioned earlier, Mike Andrews, he was like, "Man, you haven't watched wrestling in a long time. Like, I really think you would like this CM Punk guy. He does this. I don't do drugs. I don't smoke. I don't drink alcohol. Like, I'm better than you type thing." And I was like, that sounds interesting. So I checked it out and was watching the straight edge stuff that he was doing, and it just for some reason it just spoke to me, man. Like I don't know how else to put it. You know what I mean? Because I was like freshly sober. I didn't know, what I was gonna do with my life because I was changing careers at that point. I was a flight paramedic and a firefighter, and I knew getting sober, being a needle dependent opiate addict, that I couldn't continue working around morphine and fentanyl and stuff as a flight paramedic. So I knew I had to find a new career. And he's what he's like what drew me back into fandom. And then a buddy of mine met him at a signing and had like 30 seconds to talk to him and get a signed 8x10 and a quick selfie with him, right? And my buddy actually spent his little time that he had with CM Punk telling him about me. It was like, hey, I got this buddy named Leo that he got back into wrestling and is thinking about getting into wrestling because of you. Because of you being straight edge, and he just got sober and stuff. And he was like, "Really?" And Punk said, "What's his name?" And he was like, "His name's Leo." And so he put to Leo, stay strong, CM Punk, and gave him an extra 8x10 to give to me for free, just because my buddy told him the story. And that was the day when he gave me that. Like, I openly wept. I didn't even meet CM Punk. I'd still never met CM Punk, but when he gave me that, I like openly wept, and I was like, that was the day that I decided I'm going to be a pro wrestler. That was the day. So,
Okay. I know you talked about it a little bit, but just before we move on, like explain to us really like what that road to recovery looked like. Like the hardest part is those difficulties. I've my parents have both struggled with it. I've helped my dad get off things. My mom is still out there somewhere. It's tough to talk about, but she's still out there. There's that road hasn't she hasn't hit the road to recovery yet.
yeah.
Um, but it's something that I know a lot about and I've experienced a lot. As somebody maybe not in it, but around it. So I'm always, I don't want to say fascinated, but for a lack of a better words, I'm always fascinated or want to know what that story's like for other people.
Yeah. So, I mean, so like, for me, it started out with, I got, coming back from Iraq, I was medicating with the pills that the VA was sending me, which were, opiates. And, it just became self-medicating and stuff. And then, that led to the amount they weren't sending me, was taking more and more, so that wasn't enough. So then I had to start buying more to finish out until my monthly prescription would get in the mail, yada yada yada. That eventually led to shooting up heroin. You just it's hard to fathom. Like, you would never think in a million years, like, I would never put a needle in my arm just to get high, but you wouldn't believe the things that you will do, when you get that addicted to opiates or to anything. But when I finally was trying to get sober, it was very much my wife that was, my saving grace. I mean, I had stolen money from her. I had stolen money out of our savings account, our joint checking account. Like, I had stolen money out of her purse while she was sleeping. Like, I had done anything and everything. And she still drove me to rehab time and time and time again. Um, and it was in the seventh time is what finally clicked. Like, it had always been she through the whole thing, she was like, "We're gonna get through this." It was never "you're gonna get through this." It's "we're gonna get through this." And when she was dropping me off for the seventh time at rehab, like she just like I kind of reached for her hand as we were pulling in the parking lot or as we were parking, and she like kind of pulled away a little bit and was like, "Something's got to change." And I knew right then, like, okay, this is serious because like if the one person on earth that is still in my corner is not, you know what I mean? If she's starting to have doubts, like, you know, something's got to change. And that was December 17th, 2017. I've been sober since that day.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps. I just want to say thank you for sharing that. I know sometimes those things can be difficult. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm sure a member of the audience will could inspire. So I enjoy those stories because I feel like it's important to get those kind of stories out there so more people can know that there's hope, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, Jumping forward, how did you end up meeting Mr. EC3?
So, I broke into the business training under a wrestler from Oklahoma named Stryker, a great wrestler, great human being, great friend of mine. And one of the best pieces of advice he gave me was um, go other places to wrestle. He said, travel everywhere. And so I was traveling to Amarillo, Texas, and the promoter in Amarillo, his name is Jack Logan, and his son Jake was working with EC3 at the time, and Jack had sent a picture of me to Jake and was like, "Hey, this kid, he's only having his fifth match tonight, but he's got something. You know, you should take a look at him." And Jake reached out to me, and we struck up a friendship. And he was like, "You really ought to meet EC3. I think EC3 would like your story." And so that just happened to be just a typical Wednesday. We were texting, and so I looked up online and I seen where CM Punk, where EC3 was that night or that weekend, and he was in Minnesota that Friday. And so this was, like I said, this was a Wednesday. So just on a whim, didn't contact the promoter, nothing. I just decided I'm gonna go meet EC3. I didn't know if I was gonna get in the door. I didn't know if I was gonna have to buy a ticket, anything. I just drove 17 hours one way up to Minnesota um, to Minneapolis, and I got on the card and I walked into the locker room, and I got there super early, and it was just me, EC3, and Richard Holiday, and it just seemed like we were all three getting there at the same time. And I walked up to E, and I just shook his hand, and when we were shaking hands, he just happened to see my Iraq tattoo with my Bronze Star and on it, and he told me about his grandfather being in World War II, and me, him, and Richard Holiday end up sitting on a couch and talking for 5 hours, and we only talked about wrestling like the last 15 minutes. Like it was just crazy. Um, and so since the night that night, I had my seventh match, and so that's how I met EC3. I drove 17 hours just to meet him. You know what I mean? Not having any idea that from that day on we were going to be joined at the hip, and fast forward, and he stays at my house, and he was almost, we talked about him being maybe possibly being the godfather of our daughter at one time, and he just became one of my best friends.
What's it been like for you working with EC3 as far as inside like professional wrestling and maybe some of the other guys that do the Control Your Narrative co-op?
Oh, I mean, when you're talking about Michael, when EC3, like it's like talking to when I'm going down the road with them, it's like talking to, Tom Brady or, it's like being in the vehicle with Patrick Mahomes, you know what I mean? Like you're talking to one of the best in the world. You know what I mean? Like I think, uh I think the three best talkers in wrestling today is EC3, MJF, and CM Punk. Like, and you'll never convince me otherwise. I think those are the three best talkers in wrestling today. And but just his like I don't know how else to describe it other than like he's just on a different level uh mentally when talking about wrestling. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't even put it into words. You know what I mean? Like you just got to experience it. And he, fortunately for the wrestling world, he puts on seminars, and shares, that knowledge uh, with wrestlers. And my biggest advice to anybody that's a professional wrestler is to seek out a EC3 seminar because it's incredible. You know what I mean? But yeah, like that the best way that I could describe it is like um being a rookie third string quarterback sitting in a vehicle with Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Or sitting in the quarterback room with Tom Brady. Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate to have two conversations with him. Had him on the podcast once, which was
I
one of
watched.
my favorites. I'll be honest, going in, I don't want to say low expectations, but I didn't know what to expect
Hmm.
because the wrestling world says what the wrestling world says, so
Oh yeah.
you never know what to expect going into these things. And then I don't think I like. It's hard to say like I've talked to anybody as knowledgeable. I'm sure I have. But he's so brilliant. He's such a brilliant mind. And then um, I think what the best part for me was the conversation after when the camera turned off, the advice he gave. Just without asking, just he said, "Hey kid, just so you know this, this, and this, you might be able to do better. This is good." And then even went as far as say, "Hey, we have a show this day. Come out there. I know it's a far drive, but we'll treat you like family." And sure enough, I showed up and was treated like family.
Yeah.
So uh, he's just a great human being and somebody like right now. I'm doing like a sponsorship with Exodus Pro.
Hmm.
Something I can't wait to continue that relationship going
Hmm.
forward, just because the people behind the scenes,
Hmm.
including EC3, are incredible human beings.
Yeah. Yeah, him and Noah. Noah's who connected me and you.
Yep.
Noah texted and told me about you and said that you would be reaching out. And Noah is on another level when it
He
comes to
really is.
wrestling knowledge as well. I mean, we all have this saying in our little Exodus family. It's let Noah cook. Because I mean, you just give them like a scenario or give them two people, and I mean, the guy can put together a masterpiece of whether it's a match, a program. I mean, just whatever. You know what I mean? Like Noah, let Noah cook is what we say, and I mean, he's just so knowledgeable, and then so for me to get to live with Noah for 6 months and train under EC3 and the co-op's head trainer Matt Roby, um, and to get to train with 15 people that EC3 hand selected, and me being the most inexperienced and probably least knowledgeable, because I'm so young in the business. Like at first, I thought it was very daunting and it scared me, but then I quickly realized that it was uh, actually the best thing for me because I wasn't just learning from E and from Roby, but I was learning from 14 other guys as well. You know what I mean? Because all these guys were more talented than me, so each one of them knew more than me and could give a little piece of information. And then on top of that, I'm also learning from one of the best in the business with EC3, you know what I mean? And then so I would train with them full time, and then I got to spend at least 2 weekends, if not all four of the weekends of the month on the road with three. And like I said, it's like being in a quarterback room with Tom Brady. You know what I mean? Like there's no other way to explain it, you know. But yeah.
What did the conversation look like to like bring you in and to be a part of Exodus Pro?
Oh man, you know, I don't remit like to train or to like at the co-op or
Uh, to wrestle, to work.
um so it was it really wasn't much of a conversation at all. You know, Michael was just you know, three was just like, hey, I got this thing, you know, going on in Cleveland. You know, whenever I get it going, you know, come up. You know what I mean? Like
Okay.
he um the conversation to meet for me to move up there for 6 months to train was a, more of a conversation than me to come up and wrestle monthly for him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
um the so I was coming up there monthly to wrestle for Exodus, and I was like, yeah, I feel like I'm, you know, getting better and stuff, and he's like, yeah, you're getting better, but uh I'm not going to be able to help you as much as to the best of my ability unless you come and live up here for a while and train with me. And
Okay.
so that's exactly what I did. We had a long form conversation about that, and that's what changed my career because that's what got me into OVW with Dave Hero and Al Snow, and it just opened up so many doors for me, and really brought out who the wrestler Leo Fox is. You know what I mean? Was
Yeah.
getting to train with three. But
Did
that was the conversation of coming up to Exodus was just like um you know, it was just pretty cut and dry. It was like, you know, hey, I got this thing going on in Cleveland, and I was just like, I'm there, you know.
was it EC3 that opened the door for OVW, or did Al and them notice and then bring you in?
So three was the OVW National Heavyweight Champion for OVW,
Okay.
and there was a 3 date weekend that OVW was running. They're running uh excuse me, a 2 day a 2 day weekend that they were running. They were running a Friday in Warren, Ohio, and then a Saturday in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And Dave Hero told three if he wanted to bring a couple of guys to have tryout matches for OVW that he could. And so I went with them, and I had two matches for OVW in Warren, Ohio, and Milwaukee. And Dave said, if you want to start, Dave said, you looked great. Would you like to come on and be a full-time roster member? And I was like, absolutely. And so Dave Hero really, you know, changed the trajectory in my career as well, by giving me that opportunity to wrestle for OVW. And it's, you know, been no looking back. You know, he's just been so good to me, you know, as well. So,
Definitely. Tell us a little bit about what it was like working with EC3 in OVW. I know you've had a match. What was that experience like?
oh man, it was incredible. So, um, I, I, it's between me and Michael, between me and three, sorry. Like we have this he always gives me a hard time because when I get in the ring, like I'm very comfortable. I've gotten to where I'm like very comfortable and stuff because of him. And but anytime it's him, like I get so nervous working with EC3. You know what I mean? I don't know, like I don't experience those nerves with anyone else except for him. So when he requested that I wrestle a match with him on live television, and we were just gonna, for like, 15, 20 minutes, like he told Dave Hero to keep it a surprise. And so it was a complete surprise. So I showed up and didn't learn that I was wrestling him until about an hour before the match. And he did that. It was like a gift to me for how well I did as a student at the co-op, but also it was to see it. It was to keep me from driving myself crazy and give myself a stroke from all the anxiety of thinking about spending an entire week thinking about wrestling EC3 on live television. You know what I mean? But it was absolutely it was a dream come true. I had got to wrestle him once before, and I had got to tag with him multiple times, but to wrestle him one on one for I think 15 minutes on live television, like it was it was awesome, man. You know what I mean? He's like one of my good friends and my mentor and my coach and one of the I always tell people that I don't have a lot. I have a lot of acquaintances, but not a lot of friends. But he's like truly uh, one of my close friends, and so to get to wrestle him live on television was just incredible. I don't know any other way to put it.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
Um, I got one more question for you. And it's just a general one.
yeah.
We are about halfway through 2025. Where do you want to see yourself come December 31st? Where do you want to see yourself at the end of the year?
And I'd love to be in Japan. I
Okay.
would love to. So Japan is my. Most people, uh, they want to be in a big company and they want the contract, but my goal has always been Japan, like what you mentioned, or you asked me earlier, like who I watch and who I try to style after and stuff. And the first two names that I said was, Stan Hansen and Bruiser Brody. So like Japan is like where I want to be. So I want to be, in Japan, man. I want everything, brother. I want OVW National Heavyweight Championship. I want the OVW Championship. I want Dave Heroes GLCW Championship. I want it all in 2025. But I want to be in Japan. That's where I want to be. I want to
Gotcha.
be over there just throwing bombs, just being a straight war criminal in Japan.
I love it. Um, Thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. Uh, Hopefully we can do it again.
Absolutely,
I
man.
like to say I'll leave the door open, so the door is wide open. If you ever want to come back, maybe do a little update. I'd love
Yeah.
to have you on.
Thank you so much for having me on, man. It was an absolute pleasure, and it truly was, Justin. I truly appreciate it.
Of course, if I didn't have to hit the road to get the Squirt Circle Expo, I'd stay on here all day. So, in closing, thank you so much, Leo, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much, brother. You have a good one and be safe on the road.